Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Mike Likes. I'm Mike. I finally figured out what the purpose of my home gym is for. It's not for working out. Why would I do that? It's to set up a home photo booth or photo studio. And in this video, I'll tell you a little bit about what I've done to set up a photo booth setup for my daughter's 8th birthday, which was a smashing hit, but I'll take you guys through it step by step and what my thought process was. So immediately you can see not a lot of space is necessary. This is maybe a 7 or 8 foot wide room that I normally just have my treadmill and some weights in, but it's enough to do a photo booth with a wide enough lens. Now, it just depends on the scope and size. Obviously, more room is better. A couple of the key ingredients you're going to need. Obviously, you're going to need a backdrop. So this comes from a kit, this black and white cloth. They're basically sheets of they're not like muslin or surface paper or anything like that you get like from a photography studio. But you do need some kind of backdrop, obviously. And you do need a secondary flash down here that's easy to set as a secondary, which is this TT560 newer speed light, which is very cheap because it's not TTL. It doesn't connect to any particular camera. I just use it as secondary flash because it has the infrared that triggers from the main flash. And what that does is it lights this background so it's not gray or discolored. The lights and the umbrellas, they come in a kit. On Amazon, they sell these kits for about $100. Just depends. Black Friday, they're cheaper. And there's 2 of them, and you use the umbrellas to kind of bounce light this way. And then on your main camera, you've got the TTL flash, which is any flash that you have. We'll turn this on here. All right, so it's TTL, so this will work and this will trigger the other flash. Now, the most important thing is I want to have our framing right, so let's do that. So here I've got my framing right where I want it. I've got F5 so that if there's more than one person, they'll be in focus and someone, won't be off the focal plane. And I've got my ISO set to, in this case, 1200, which is going to be fine for the purposes of what we're printing. And I've got my flash set up now. I just want to make sure when I turn it on, I've already tested the exposure. I'm using about 1/3 power flash because if I use too much power, it'll blow out the backdrop. But it's going to function. The second it flashes, it will light up this. And most importantly, we want to do intervalometer shooting so that we don't necessarily have to be back here. So on a Fuji camera, go to menu, interval timer shooting. I'm going to set my interval at 2 seconds, which gives the flash time to recycle, and I'm going to let it run infinity. And I have eye autofocus turned on, so if I'm in the picture, it will go ahead and take me there, and it'll keep me in focus because it's looking for my eyes. So if I start it, you see that it's triggering. So obviously, no one's in the picture. However, I can go and show you guys, if I print it to Instax, what that ends up looking like. Sure, I had to test it myself, obviously, and I'm not going to show you pictures from the 8-year-old birthday party because those are other people's children, but you see me, my beautiful face in there, and it comes out really good. You print them on these Instax square prints or whatever Instax size you have, and the kids love it. And they just take these with them, and you can print as many as you like. Printing's a little expensive, but you can also send the digital format as well. But yeah, that's how this works. So intervalometer shooting, I know Sony, Canon, Fuji, probably other brands all have that as a feature in their camera. And that way you don't have to use self-timers or remotes or anything. It's just gonna take a picture every 2 seconds. And you set it to JPEG. You don't need high resolution or RAW for this. You just set it to a lower quality JPEG. You're still gonna get 10 megapixels, which is plenty for printing. And if you're doing square, you set it square. If you're not doing square, you set it 3:2 or 8x10 or whatever the frame is going to be. And then you've got a nice little attraction. So yeah, lighting, secondary flash, primary flash, the way to print them, and your photo booth is up and running. Some things to keep in mind with your camera settings if you're going to use the intervalometer. You're going to want to set a fixed ISO. In my case, I did 1200, but it'll just depend what you need for the lighting in your condition. You're going to want to use eye and face autofocus so that whoever's in the frame, you don't have to be there to make sure it's focused because the camera will do the heavy lifting. And most modern cameras of the last 8 to 10 years have some kind of eye or face autofocus, which will be sufficient. You don't want too shallow an aperture. You don't want to shoot this at f2 or f2.8. It's tempting because it's bright and interiors are dark and you want to use f2.8, but you have flash and you have, in this case, auxiliary lights and 2 different flashes, so you can get away with f5.6 or even f8 if it moves you to keep a lot of people in the frame. You don't want someone out of the focal plane because they'll be blurry and the other person will be in focus, and that defeats the purpose of the photo booth. And the nice thing about this is for self-portraiture, if you need to take a picture of yourself, professional one, you don't necessarily need to rely on self-timers or remote release or anything like that. You can just use the intervalometer. And like I said, you're gonna get some frames that are empty at the beginning and end of the series, but you might get 8 or 10 frames in there that just look great because you're in it and you're relaxed and you're as natural as you're going to be in a self-portrait. So yeah, that's some tips for how to set up your camera. So keep the aperture rather high, make sure that number is a little bigger, the ISO, whatever lighting you need, and shutter speed, 1/160th, 1/200th is fine. You don't want motion blur necessarily, but what your lighting would let you get away with. I hope you guys like the video. As always, if you like what I'm doing, throw a like on the video, subscribe if you can. I'd love to make more videos for you. We just crossed 1,000 subscribers, and I'm so excited to offer more stuff in the future. All right, everybody, have a great one.